Okay, so I just washed my hair and I wanted to show you guys a good way of braiding. I'm gonna show a Dutch braid because that is what I do on myself most often. If you don't know a regular 3-strand braid, just kind of fast forward, because once I get off the scalp, once I'm done adding hair to it, it's a regular 3-strand braid. So if you're a beginner, you can start there and then kind of come back to learn the Dutch braid. So usually when I do it, when my hair is wet, I'm doing it for volume the next day once it's dry. So one thing to note, if your hair breaks easily, if it's very damaged, try to avoid doing it when it's fresh out of the shower, because when your hair is wet, it's more brittle. I don't really have much issues with breakage, so I'm okay. So I'm going to comb it straight back and then just part it down the middle. You can use a comb, I use my pinky nail. Just make sure it's a nice clean line, because that's the best way you're going to get a really clean looking braid. I have paint in my hair, please ignore that. So yeah, you're just gonna part it nicely, make sure it's centered. Start over. I've had paint in my hair for like 2 weeks. It just doesn't want to come out. But that is what happens when you wear a baseball hat on backwards and fall into a wall. So that's cool. Okay, so it's pretty straight. And then make sure you're following that line all the way back into the back. So I'm just going to section this side out of the way. I'm gonna do 2 different braids. Well, 2 Dutch braids, but one is going to be very, the first one I'll show you, I'm just gonna take really wide sections so that way you can see what I'm doing on the camera. But then the second one that I do, I'll kind of do smaller sections, kind of like the Kardashians do, where it's really, really tight, where it starts really small. So just for learning's sake, we'll start with big sections. Oh, I almost forgot. So typically I don't really put much in it when I'm doing this technique, but if I really want to feel curly, which I do, I'll add a little bit of the Aveda Be Curly Curl Enhancer. So I'll just do about, I have a lot of hair, so I'm doing about a 1/4 size. And just rake it through. Okay. Hopefully I don't forget to do it to the other side. So you should never put the hair down when you're braiding. That's how you get a loose braid, that's how you get a messy braid. All you have to do, you're gonna start with a little triangle section, okay? The sectioning within a braid, unless you're doing a half up, if you're just doing a whole braid, your sections don't have to be super clean. I mean, if I was braiding a client, I'd obviously make it cleaner, but for me, who cares, you know? So, to get your 3 sections, I literally just push into it with these 2 fingers. So now I have 3 sections, okay? You want to keep your knuckles as close to your scalp as possible. So you're gonna start, this one is going to go behind. So this top one is gonna go behind, and this bottom one that my thumb is holding is going to twist, okay? So we're gonna go behind. I'm grabbing it. I'm grabbing the bottom one that my thumb is holding with my middle finger. Grabbing it. The middle one that was in the middle is now going to be on the bottom. The bottom one is now going to be on the top, and the top one is now in the middle, okay? So this is literally the only motions you do. At first, this is just a regular 3-strand braid, okay? The first 3 movements that you do are going to be a regular 3-strand braid, just so there's like an anchor, so that way if you just go straight into on-scalp braiding, then your focal point, which I like to call it, is gonna fall back, and you won't really notice that it's a braid until it's like way far back, okay? So same thing, just a regular 3-strand, and I do that motion probably 3 times. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Between my thumb and index finger, my index finger and my middle finger, and then my middle finger between my ring finger. So 1 in here, one in here, and one in here, okay? So I'm holding it with my left hand on my left side. Then you're going to grab a little section. Again, I'm gonna do bigger sections just so you can see what I'm doing. Grab a big section with your thumb, and you're gonna put it in your middle section between your index finger and your middle finger, okay? And you're gonna smooth it. And honestly, don't worry about like cleanliness like the first time you do it. You wanna get down the motions and then focus on like perfecting. Okay, so I did that. So I have my French, my Dutch in there, the added on part. Now, take the top section that's between the middle and ring. We're gonna call that, that's what we're gonna call it. Take that, I have it up here, and then that's gonna go over everything. And now I'm gonna grab the bottom section with my middle finger and the top section, okay? That's it. So now, knuckles forward with the right hand. You're gonna grab another section, and then I always kind of like hook it with here to kind of clean it up, okay? And then it's gonna go in the middle. Just whatever your middle section is. Right now it's between my middle finger and my index finger. This is hard, I've never really taught anyone to do this, so I'm learning too. Okay, so now to switch back to this hand, top section up here, going like this, and then this bottom section is going to be twisted between my middle finger and then the ring finger, okay? I think that's it. So, same motion. I'm gonna grab a nice chunk. And when I clean these up, I just kind of tuck it between my middle finger. That's where it belongs, in the middle. It's in our middle section. See, we have section 1, 2, 3. So it's where it belongs. If it's bumpy, I'll clean it up, but it looks pretty good. So again, top section goes over, and then we have middle section, top section. And those don't move. When, for some reason, when you're switching from the left hand to the right hand, you don't do any twists. You just go take the top to the bottom. So now we're gonna take another chunk. Like I said, I kind of clean these up over here. It's gonna go in the middle, okay? And then my top section goes over here, goes under, and then top, middle. So it's a little bumpy, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. So that didn't really twist either. I guess you could call it a twist. We'll keep going. Same thing. In the middle, nice and clean. Top goes over to the bottom, and then the middle and the top stay the same. Okay, hopefully you can see. Take another section. And when I take my sections, I am kind of scraping my scalp with my nail, just so it's pretty clean. You don't want to just like grab, because then you're gonna have like all of this stuff kind of just falling. You want it to be pretty clean. But again, when you're starting out, just get your motions down. But when you want to like go in public, try hard. So you're gonna grab your section. Back here, I'm getting pretty big. When I do this, I'm holding that, like the bottom section was between my thumb and my index finger, but now it's just kind of clung with my index finger. You really don't have to drop anything to do this. So, you know, kind of clean it up. Now it's gonna go in the middle, okay? Your top goes over the middle and the bottom, and now the middle and the bottom become the top and the middle, okay? So like this. And then just trade hands, okay? So typically, I go more straight back, but when I'm distracted, I am kind of almost in front of my ear. So if you feel like your braids aren't going far enough back, you need to adjust your movements, because I'm going back and forth. That's another thing. When you're doing it, try to keep your hands in a pretty stationary position, because right now, since I'm showing you, I'm moving my hands back and forth, and that's why it's loose up here. If I stayed remote like this, it would all be flat like this. So that's another thing just to kind of perfect. But right now we're just doing movements. So then, same thing, you're gonna grab your section, and when I'm by the ear, I'll do 2 more, no, I'll do a whole one. So that's going right by my ear, into the middle finger, top goes over the bottom, and we're good. So same thing over here. We're just gonna put it straight to the middle finger. Don't get frustrated either. Like this isn't easy. I've literally been braiding my own hair since I was probably, my mom probably taught me when I was like 11 or 12. So this is literally just like muscle memory for me at this point, and I'm a hairstylist, so I do this literally for a living. But I think it's easiest if you practice, like really practice makes perfect. So we already gathered the new hair, top over the bottom, and then you have these 2 that stay the same, and then you just transfer hands. Okay, so now we're behind the ear. And again, you would be, like it is kind of hard for your shoulders to do, but you do, and that's why I kind of get lazy and take bigger sections in the back. But the closer you keep your hands to the scalp, and the most stationary you keep your hands, like once I do this side, you'll kind of, I'll maybe not talk and you'll just see like the movement that I do. But yeah, the closer you keep your hands to the scalp, the closer the braid will be, because right now mine's pretty loose. I don't like that. I like when they're really tight. So we got about this much hair left. I'm gonna do 2 more, 1 on each side. So we're gonna grab into the middle, and then switch. And then last one, don't mind my undercut. This might take you a little bit longer, but I have a lot less hair. Into the middle, and switch. So now we are technically at a 3-strand braid. So this is pretty, to me it's self-explanatory, but I'll go over it. You should never drop hair when you're doing a regular 3-strand braid. It's not necessary and it messes things up. So you got it here. And if you're doing this, like just down the back, and you're going like this, and then you're working all the way back, and then you're like, okay, how do I continue? Just how do I do it? Oh, I put it into this hand, and then I just kind of do it over the side. Anyway, I'll show that eventually. So just do a regular 3-strand braid. This, we're gonna take over here. We're gonna twist. This is gonna go here. And then twist, middle finger, twist, middle finger, twist, middle finger, twist, middle finger. Okay? Pretty simple. You just twist, middle finger, twist, middle finger, twist, middle finger. Okay? So, to me that's pretty simple. Like I said, this isn't my cleanest braid because I'm talking. What you just do to the end, you take your elastic, not in your mouth because that's not sanitary, and you're gonna wrap around. So this other side, I'm gonna put my Aveda Be Curly Curl Enhancer in. Same amount, rake it in. And my hair in braids takes probably like a solid 24 hours to dry. If I want it like completely dry, I can usually take it out when it's damp and I still get a good wave out of it. So if you do that, just make sure once you like stick your finger in it, just make sure it feels pretty dry, okay? So this side I'm gonna take a little bit smaller of sections, and just so you can see how I would typically do it without being distracted. Okay. So this is, like if this little first starter section is how you can determine how close it's gonna be up here, right? So I started, like you can see, my first section was up here. Now my first section is here. So you can see this is going to be a lot closer to my middle part and a lot pointier than this was because this was a lot bigger of a section. So I am starting with a mini section, which I don't typically do, but I just want you to see how that works. So same thing, you're just going to, you're gonna add hair to it, so it doesn't really matter how small it is, okay? So I'm right-handed too, so like you can do both sides of your head symmetrically without having an issue with your dominant hand. So when you're doing a section this small to start out, like literally this piece is like 3 strands. So I'm doing 4 rotations of a 3-strand braid. Okay. Maybe a little more. All right, so same thing. And typically, I don't necessarily, if I'm doing one this small, I'm looking in the mirror, but if I don't really care how it looks, if I'm just like, a lot of times I'll throw it in braids when I go to the gym or something. And if I'm doing that, I typically don't even look in the mirror. Like I'll just like stand there talking to my boyfriend and I'm not all that worried about it, because if you're seasoned, you don't really need to watch. So you can already see, you can see like the little baby braid compared to this side. It hasn't even started yet, okay? So, did I add yet? Did not. And I'm like pulling it tight. Like the only good way to really make it on your scalp and not move is to pull it. Like if your hair's really fragile, then don't do tight braids. But if your hair can handle it and you want it to look sleek, do a tight braid. I do this to my little girl clients all the time and they always love it. See, it's nice and tight. And if you don't want to see your scalp, just kind of comb. Believe it or not, I don't have a comb with me right now, so can't do that. So if you were doing a half up braid, if you wanted just to like stop here, literally just stop and then do your 3-strand and then this can stay out. One thing to note, if you're doing a half up, keep your sections pretty clean. So when you section, on this side I use my thumb. So literally just draw a straight line that's parallel to your section before. And then you can see, pretty clean. See, I'm talking so it's getting loose. So to fix that, we're gonna pull it tight. Doesn't feel good, but it looks nice. Everyone always asks me, did you do that yourself? And I'm always like, yeah. But I get it, I really do. Like, the only reason I know how to do this is because my mom was good at it and she taught me. I really don't know if I would be this fluid if I started doing this when I went to cosmetology school 4.5 years ago. 4 years ago. So if you like mess up and you need to move back up, what I always do, where it's like pretty safe to let go, I'll hook my hand in a section that I know is a section and let go. And then I can kind of feel that other section up here, and then I'll just kind of hook. So now I'm able to restart a braid without having to completely restart, right? And then you just kind of problem solve. Okay, and that's it. And then same thing, you're gonna take your elastic and not put it in your mouth because that's not sanitary. All right, so you can see this is one, I was distracted, I wasn't smoothing it. It's even a lot more forward. It's kind of covering my ear, kind of might get annoying after a while. This side, I was less distracted, and it's pretty tight. It's a little loose back here, which I don't always mind if it's too loose. If I really wanted it tight, I'd probably work on it with my hand behind my head rather than over the side like I did, because when I'm doing a middle braid down the back, I am going, you know, behind my head, so I'm kind of used to that. But you can even see just from head on, like this one's a lot further back than this one, and this one obviously looks a lot nicer. So as you can see, it's pretty simple. For styling, like this is gonna be my curly hairstyle for tomorrow. I'm gonna redo this side, but if I wanted this as a style to just go to work with my braids, I would probably fan them a little bit, even maybe up here, kind of pull it out. That's another thing you can do as you go. Because remember, you're holding it in one hand and you have a free hand at all times pretty much. So if you're holding it in this hand, you can kind of fan with this hand. It's kind of easier to do as you go rather than me to do it right now, because it's all so tight that it's pretty much impossible to get this to pull loose without messing everything up. So yeah, let me know if you have any other videos that you want to see, and I hope that you enjoy this, and I hope that you learn, and I would love to see if anybody does a braid from this video. I'd love to see how it turns out, even if it's not the best braid you ever do. Practice makes perfect. Thanks for watching.